probably another 2 years or so. Like
And you've been here
2 years.
oh, wow.
So this building is from what, the 50s, 1950s?
60s, I think.
60s?
But, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think essentially I haven't moved out of sort of student living yet. My place still looks like I'm 17 or something like that.
Jill, how do you feel like a student in this place?
Well, mismatched furniture, you know, like.
Do you give any thought to it whatsoever?
I do. If you notice, all the furniture is actually one color scheme, brown.
Thinking about home, like, okay, we haven't talked about this, but you know, really, we eat, we defecate, we make love. I mean, we do a lot of things at home that we don't do in the mall.
Left a few out there.
So
And you can do all of those things.
really could, but you know what makes home? Like thinking about body. There are a few things.
There's something about the kind of the lineage of home.
Yeah, because it's interesting because we often think of home as like most of the time located in a specific geography, a location, and et cetera, you know, but then home could also be, you know, cross international boundaries, cross like sort of institutions and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be a place of residence.
Community of people.
Yeah.
Community of a certain type of people.
There's a cognitive space, something that your mind understands, and so that performs that, you know, the Cartesian separation of mind and body, and or self and space.
Clearly, I would say this meal constitutes body space. I mean, nobody who's completely in their head could make this meal.
Even if I was to sort of not cook and stuff like that, but there's still a mind-body connection here, and for us to live the moment, be it the moment it's either succession of moments or a continuous moment rather. Like you know, I lie down and watch TV. That's why I have a pillow there. I lie down on the couch to watch TV.
People now call it a third space, right? Like a third space is a coffee shop, which is kind of like the live space in Lefebvre in a vague way. It's post-metropolis, right? Like a third space is the place between home and the public.
In a way,
but I don't know why it's
like it's almost based on that sort of Hegelian sense. Like sort of, you know, like synthesis, you know,
right.
to produce, you know, private, public, and then you have the third.
Right. Yeah, they've like adopted it as a corporate term, not necessarily from Soja.
Today's discussion has, to a large extent, extended it beyond the walls of the owned or the rented space. I mean, that's and Lefebvre introduces that notion.
Because we spend more time in the workspace than we spend at home.
Except, what my argument is that home is for the private, where you do close the doors and defecate and make love and
You can defecate.
Okay,
suck
that
up
are
the
closer to
pasta.
your body
Okay,
rather than.
it's not for public consumption.
So shall we talk about things? One of the things, thanks to Fran, that we've looked at are objects, right? And paid attention to objects.
I don't collect. My mother collected and my elder son collects. But I think it's partly because I worked in heritage all those years that collecting was kind of not something that I aspired to. I could sort of see what collecting was about without needing to do it myself, you know?
I mean, we could get into what collecting, what it means.
I realized that my parents didn't have to deal with the collections of their families because it was a time of scarcity and there wasn't, nobody was in collecting mode, you know?
Yes.
And that increasingly people now have to probably deal with a fair amount of stuff that the generation before them still has in their basement.
My grandfather, his basement was just full of just crap, like just these useless collections that he left for all of his sons. But he had a collection of coins that he kept in a locked drawer in a desk that no one was allowed to touch. And when they were finally able to open the drawer after he had died, he had sold all of the coins that were worth anything and left So this is a man who like controlled purse strings in his household, and even after his death, he was still controlling things financially through his collection.
You will have noticed what all of us have noticed last time is Jillian's wonderful ability to present this as a kind of choreography of cookery while talking intelligently. So true.
Well, it seems to be the goal of the open kitchen, or before that, the pass-through, right? That there could be some sort of dialogue between spaces. What is it in that stupid Julia Child movie? The servantless American cook?
Yeah.
But as the hostess who also has to cook, you have to do the entertaining while you're doing the performance.
And I think there are many, many who can't, won't, shouldn't. Jillian is not one of them. Jillian actually, you seem to do this as if this is how you would choose it, that it hasn't been imposed upon you.
There is something too about like the high modernist open plan house that's inherently oppressive, that everything's on display
all the time.
Everything's performative all the time.
That's an interesting idea. So you think the open kitchen is related to the notion of lack of service?
Yeah, lack of service and a kind of performativity. I guess the thing that is still missing for me in all of our discussions, because it tends to be awkward, is two things: the relationship of the domestic to power, and how power is negotiated in domestic spaces as well. Who does the work in the house?
Absolutely.
What does it mean that you do this, and do you ever enjoy doing any of this, or does somebody else enjoy doing it? Does somebody else act like it's pleasurable, and so on and so on?
Keith, you were saying there were two things.
The relationship of the domestic to power, to external power.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even to external public spheres.
What do you mean?
If you had an atomistic vision of a society of households, and households making decisions, and then some sort of pyramid up to the very peak of power, then it would be very easy to see where the transmission of actual political power, where the relationships were.
And of course, it operates at a very local level, but it operates now, given our economy, at a very transnational global level, that we have even less control.
Economy and communications. Yeah.